Today I want to talk a little bit about why I'm using a GPS, a physical GPS, an old one too, and how you can use an old GPS like this and breathe new life into it with updated maps for free. But first, if you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and cutting down on one's technology usage, sometimes by the use of other technologies. So I'm just sitting in my room right now. I have to be in here today because my neighbors are having a deck built, and they've been doing it all week. So there's tons of drilling and sawing and construction happening, and it's been honestly ruining all of my videos up until now. So I decided to shoot some in here. And today I had to shoot one because I'm pretty excited because just earlier today I picked up this Garmin GPS. It's a Garmin Nuvi 1490. And I want to talk a little bit about getting an old GPS like this, getting it up to speed for 2024 and onward, how to do it for free, and why I think you may want to consider doing it as well. This GPS in particular is from 2011. It is the Garmin Nuvi 1490. The updated maps on it only go as far as 2012, and then beyond that you have to pay. And it's like, I think it's like at least $50 to update the maps each year. And that's like pretty expensive. It's something that I'm never going to do. I'm never paying them that. And I see why people move to something like Google Maps because it's a free option and it's built into our phone. It is a convenient option. But a lot of times I found Google Maps has just bit me in the butt and I don't appreciate it. Google Maps is always updating based on traffic and trying to find the fastest option. It's constantly taking me onto these bizarre back roads in places that I would never have went otherwise. And I've been angry at Google Maps for that, honestly. Google Maps is also susceptible because it is usually not downloaded on people's phones. The maps are having to be accessed via a cellular data connection. Whenever cell phones are down, whenever there's an outage to cell phones, or even when you're in an area where the signal is low, you aren't going to have access to that GPS. I've had this happen when I've been road tripping tons of times where I've been driving around. I've been in some really random place, like going to a ghost town in New Mexico or something like that, and I wasn't able to get a signal out there. And I'd be kind of freaked out because I would make a wrong turn. The GPS wouldn't be able to get back on track because I went off course. And then I'd be like, well, great. I don't know where I am now. Having something like a physical GPS that has downloaded maps on it is a great way to go as an alternative in this case because the maps are always going to be there, and as long as it can access the satellites in the sky, it's going to be able to work. Now, of course, there are options where you can download offline maps and use them on your smartphone, and that's a great option as well. But one of the downsides of that is that smartphones, especially if you're an iPhone user, have finite storage. You're going to be using a lot of different things on that storage on your phone. You're going to have pictures on there. You're going to have podcasts. You're going to have text messages. You're going to have whatever else. You're going to have applications. Maybe you're going to have games on there. You're going to have music on there. A lot of different things are going to be trying to claim the memory on your phone. To be adding another 5 gigabytes or 10 gigabytes of storage onto your phone so you can account for having those maps always downloaded, it might not always be an option for you. So in that case, a lot of people might find it better to have a single-use device, a single-purpose device that has its own dedicated storage for that single purpose. This is a lot of the reason why I advocate using something like the iPod, because the iPod has 160 gigabytes on it that are 100% dedicated to music. It's not like I have to share all of my music space with photos and podcasts and, videos and applications and stuff like I would on my smartphone. I just get 100% of that for music on my iPod. Similar thing to having a GPS like this. And even if you choose to make room on your phone to have offline maps stored for you, it's always good to have a backup option because there is going to be a time where something goes wrong with your phone when you're driving, or maybe your phone runs out of battery and you don't have a charger with you for some reason. It's great to have a backup option like this that you could just plug in and use in case to get you out of a pinch. These GPSs, especially this one here, the Garmin Nuvi, they're very easy to find. They're very inexpensive to buy. I just paid 15 Canadian dollars for this thing. And you can update the maps with OpenStreetMaps, which is an open source, community sourced map project for absolutely free, and it's very easy to do. I bought this morning, as I said, and it only took me like 20 minutes in order to get this installed and up and running with up-to-date 2024 maps. I'll link a video below that has a tutorial to do it. It's the one that I used to do this today, but I will simplify it for you if you're just interested in hearing about how it goes. The Garmin has a micro SD port right here. and it can handle up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD, which holds quite a bit of maps. You take that micro SD, you reformat it into FAT32 on your computer, you go to openmapchest.org, which is the website that has it, you download the map that you want. I'm downloading the Canadian map. You also have the ability to donate to them if you'd like, because it is free to download, but it's ran by like one person, this website. Anyways, once you've downloaded the file for the map, you've reformatted your micro SD, you make a folder on the micro SD called Garmin, and then you open the zip file that your map came in, you drop the file inside into that Garmin folder, eject your micro SD, throw it into the GPS, fire it up, and it should be working right away for you. But if it's not, you go into the settings, and then it says, I think it's tools and then settings, and then the button is map in the GPS itself. You deselect the original Garmin GPS file, and then you select the OpenStreetMaps or OpenMapChest file. Once you go back to the home screen on your GPS, it will have the new maps ready to rock and you are ready to go. It's just that easy. If that was a little bit too complicated for you and you want to see a video that breaks it down and shows you how to do it all the way through, I have linked that in the description. It was a very helpful resource, so I have linked that below. I hope you enjoy it if you do use it. But this has been great so far. I charged it up fully. I went and took it out on a few test runs here. I set it to my parents' house, and I got in the car and kind of figured out how that was going to work. It all seemed to be working just great. I also did some walking navigation around my neighborhood where I just set up the turn by turn on the pedestrian setting on here, and it worked perfectly for me as well. The one thing to keep in mind, especially with these older GPSs, is that this thing is from 2011 and has a 2011 GPS processing power. So zooming around on the map, like if I take the map here, and I'm starting to really drag around on here a lot, I'll bring it up here. It's having some trouble, staying up to date. It's not going to be as snappy as using something like you would find on your Apple Maps or on your Google Maps. It's an old GPS, so I don't blame the GPS for this. It's doing its best. Now, I was using this and I was zooming around, and I was doing a lot of adjustments here, trying to find where I was going, and it was a bit finicky. Eventually, I was just doing so much zooming around that the GPS, I guess, just crashed. It just turned off and turned back on again really quickly. It was fine. It ultimately worked just fine. I don't think it's going to be as good for that. If you're in a new town and you want to, look around and see what landmarks are available to you, you're going to want to go on either the desktop Google Maps or some sort of maps section, or even just downloading the maps on your phone for Google Maps or for OpenStreetMaps or something like that. You're going to want a bit of a faster experience than what you're going to find on this GPS. But for standard car or walking or biking turn-by-turn navigation, this thing works just as good as it did in 2011, but it has the up-to-date maps. So I think it's a great option, and for $15, I really can't argue with it at all. Now, who is this for? Is this just for somebody, who's looking to use a dumb phone and simplify their approach to tech? They want to have a bunch of single-use devices instead of that smartphone? Or is there a use for somebody as well who is looking to use a smartphone, but then also use a few single-use devices to complement that device as well? I think the answer is yes to both. I think it's going to be, of course, very helpful to somebody who has a dumb phone that maybe has a very rudimentary GPS or no GPS at all. This is going to do a better job than probably what is built into your dumb phone, and I think this is a great way to go in that case. With the case of the smartphone, though, I think the smartphone's GPS has drawbacks. Of course, it is linked to the cellular connection, and if that goes away, then the GPS goes away. You have the option to download, but then it takes up a lot of storage on that device, which is not just dedicated to maps. You also have the distraction that comes along with having a smartphone. Now, I don't think when you're driving, a smartphone really has any place in that experience of driving. In the past, I have put the smartphone on the dash and used it as a map solution, but I ultimately have stopped doing that because I don't find it that safe. Even while having Do Not Disturb on my phone, having all notifications except for text and call silenced, because the phone is unlocked on maps, every text message I'm receiving is buzzing and coming through on the top of the screen and adding distraction to that experience of driving. And honestly, this is a topic for another video, but I think even CarPlay and things like this is not that safe, because tons of people getting text while they're driving, having it speak to them and appear visually on the giant tablet screen that's in front of them, which is somehow legal to have when driving. That's legally fine, but it is certainly very distracting. So I think when you're driving, it should just be you, the road, the map solution, and the radio or whatever else. The least inputs that I have to deal with while I'm driving, the better. I just want to focus on driving and getting where I'm going safely. And frankly, using a dedicated GPS like this might be the best way to do that. This thing is not going to tell me when a text message comes in that I don't need to know about until I reach my destination. This thing isn't going to tell me anything else other than when I need to turn next, and I very much appreciate that. I will certainly be talking about this more in the future. I want to use this for a couple of more weeks and then report back more of my findings using an old GPS like this here in 2024, but I think it's going to be great for me. Let me know in the comments if this is something you're interested in using, or if you are using a standalone GPS like this here in 2024. I would love to hear from you if so. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and I'll see you in the next video.